Does it say recording on your end?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll start it then. So, welcome back to the Maley Way. I'm your host, Jim Maley. Today's guest grew up in Massachusetts, I think born in Rhode Island, became a outstanding hockey player starring at the University of Maine before being drafted by the Philadelphia Flyers. He spent years grinding through professional hockey, chasing the dream and living the life that many young athletes aspire to. But when retirement came, like it does for every athlete, he had to figure out what was next. Confidence, identity, purpose were no longer just guaranteed by the jersey or the locker room. For him, the next chapter led somewhere unexpected, Nashville, Tennessee, where he rebuilt himself as a singer and songwriter. About a month ago, I came across one of his new songs, and I saw it on Facebook randomly. It was called Devil Back Down. And the message hit me immediately. The themes of struggle, resilience, mental health connected in a way that made me know I had to reach out to him and get him on this podcast. Luckily for me, I had a connection. Rob's cousin is my really good friend from Holy Cross, and we were able to get connected. So, with that, I'm excited to welcome former professional hockey player turned Nashville recording artist and father and husband, Rob Bellamy, to the Maley Way. Thanks, Rob, for coming on.
Absolutely, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to. So I have to start with this. I've heard you've been doing some work for international businessman Steve Silva for Stadia Sports, and I just wanted to ask you: have things been going smoothly with travel, passports, rental cars, all that?
I wouldn't say that, no. Obviously Stevie gave you a little dish there, but no, it's been great overall, but the travel's been a little rough.
Yeah,
But I mean, I can get into the story if you want.
yeah. Go tell a little story. Were you going to Ireland?
Yeah, we were so our first trip over there, we flew into Dublin and we drove straight up to kind of northern, not necessarily Northern Ireland, but right on the border, and we were like right around Donegal, and it was our first club that we went to. We had just gotten a drone. Because we just felt like the drone shots were really going to make the footage, and they have. But we took the drone up for the first time. We were getting everything. It was great, and it just fell out of midair. I don't know if it hit a bird or something, but it came down crashing from like 100, 200 feet and just snapped in half.
Oh
And
God.
one of the guys that was working for the club was out there trying to find it with us. It probably took us an hour just to find it. And we had another club to go to in Alia, and we had to get another drone because it was just like for us it was just we needed it for the shot. So we ended up finding a store. Stevie and I went there. We found like the last one on the shelf, and we ended up getting it up and running, and getting the final shots of this next club before the sun went down. So that was good. We ended up getting back to the hotel, uh, went to grab a couple beers, and then got back to the hotel. We had golf the next morning up in Ballyliffin, which is a beautiful course. So we got
Yeah.
up the next morning, golfed all day, and then Stevie and I were heading to Belfast because we had a flight the next morning out to Cardiff. And so him and I got up, but there was just so much travel going on and luggage. A couple of the guys that work for the company are based in Ireland. So what they did was they took some of our luggage, and they just kept it for a couple of days, and then just met us when we got back to Ireland after we were doing our work in Wales. So Stevie and I left after the golf. We went to Belfast. I mean, we were exhausted. I mean, we were filming all day the next day. It was golf all day. We got back to the hotel, and I was just like, dude, I'm gonna sleep so well tonight.
Yeah.
And now it's like it's probably close to midnight, and I was laying in bed, and I just had this like feeling come over me, and I was like, oh God, I think I forgot my passport back up
Oh,
back up in Donegal
Oh God.
with the guy who had all of our luggage.
Yeah.
And I was sifting through all my stuff and I couldn't find it. So it was 12 o'clock. It was a 3.5 hour drive from Belfast back to Donegal. I called Stevie. I said, dude, I need the rental. You're not going to believe what's going on. So he was just like, dude, what the hell? So I got in the car. I had no cell service. So when I got in the car, I put the GPS on to get back to Donegal, and it was literally just the blue line. There was like no streets, no nothing. So, and I'm driving on the right side of the car, left side of the road,
Yeah.
and it's just not going our way. It's not going my way anyway. And so I had to go back to Donegal, get the passport, and then come all the way back to Belfast because we had a flight out to Cardiff at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So Stevie finally got in touch with Ian, who was one of the coworkers at the company, and he was thank God he was still in Donegal, staying overnight there. So he had my passport. He checked. He saw it. So he knew I was coming. So I was due to arrive in Donegal at like 3:30 in the morning. So I'm driving all through the night. I get 3 hours and 15 minutes into the ride, and all the streets at that time. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been over there, but it's
yeah,
dark.
I have. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
dark. It's narrow. You can't really see anything, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I just ran something over that was just like, holy, like, what was that? And I shredded 2 tires on the rental car.
Oh my God.
Dude, and I'm like, I'm pulled over and it's pitch black out. There's no lights around. There's like a cow pasture next to me. And the next town was probably like 2 or 3 miles up the road. So I was driving probably 5 miles an hour just to get like anywhere. Yeah. And thank God, like I didn't have service. I didn't have service in Ireland, but when I got over into Northern Ireland, I'm sorry, I didn't have service in Northern Ireland when I was in Belfast, but when I got over into Ireland, I got service and I could call Ian, thank God. So I'm like, Ian, you're not going to believe what is going on. I'm like, I'm 8 miles from the hotel. I just blew out two tires on the rental. I don't know what the hell to do. And he's like, Rob, there's no worries, man. There's only one thing to do. I'm just going to have to come pick you up and drive you back to Belfast. So like the Irish, they couldn't be nicer. Like this guy got out of bed, packed up all of his stuff, drove to where I was in Burnfoot. And he ended up picking me up and driving me all the way back to Belfast. And we got back at like just in time for me to get back to the hotel, pack my stuff, and get on the flight. So it was just like you just can't. I mean, it might have been a long-winded story, but
no, that's because I know that first of all, it is scary over there driving in Ireland. Like you said, the roads are so narrow. Like where we went, you'd have to like pull over just so someone could pass coming the other way because it was so narrow. And I always remember this story. This is my favorite story. We got to Ireland. My Uncle Lou was driving and he pulled over to ask for directions. And the guy was like, oh, just go to the roundabout over there. And my Uncle Lou rolled back down the window and he turns to me. He's like, what the fuck is a roundabout? Like, we don't have that in the Midwest at all. And it is scary. So I understand like that whole thing, but I'm glad Steve asked me to ask you that because it led to a good story.
He's probably after that he was like, I don't know why I hired this kid.
And Steve's going to be happy that I said international businessman, Stadia Sports, Steve Silva. He'll like that too. So
he'll love it. And he's, Stevie's he's got a great vision on him, and he's a great entrepreneur, and the company is doing extremely well for I think it's about a year and a half in now, and it's really picking up some steam. So it's an exciting time for the company for sure.
That's awesome. All right, Rob. So I wanted to start, and I kind of mentioned to you before about how like my buddies used to always joke around with me that I used to start liking music like about 2 years after it became like kind of popular. Like I wasn't good at spotting it, and whether it was like rap or country or rock, I usually needed like people to tell me when something was kind of good or not. But every once in a while, there's like a song, and it's happened maybe like 4 times over the course of my life where I was like, now that is a good song. Like I relate to that song. And when I heard your song, Devil Back Down, like I had that kind of feeling. And before we get into your life and all that, I just wanted to ask you about like the songwriting, specifically with that one. Is that like, is that like therapeutic for you to not only write that, but also knowing that it's resonating with people out there who may have experienced something like that? Like, is that therapeutic in a way for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Songwriting for me in general is, I think, for me, I think it's really cool to just create something out of nothing and come up with a product that can resonate with people. And when I do sit down and write, I try to relate it to my life. I feel like that's the easiest way to get stuff out. And then with hopes that other people have experienced the same things or gone through the same things. And you know, I write from my experiences, people around me, stories I've heard, stuff like that. So, but yeah, I think the goal in the end is, it's obviously just it's a passion for me, but my goal is for it to connect with other people.
Yeah, I mean, because that's kind of like how I feel with like what I'm doing now with this stuff. Like even like talking to you, podcasts, when I do like public speaking. And it's kind of like I can't do music, but it's my version of like I call it sharing selfishly. Like 90% of the reason I'm doing it is like I want to help other people. But also when I do it, like I don't go to like therapy for mental health. But this is like my version of that. And I know you went through some difficult times. Like, did this kind of help you get out of those difficult times?
Yeah, I think, it's probably a mixture of a few things, but I think just getting stuff out on paper or, whether it's music or just talking to somebody or like you're doing with the podcast and, expressing the journey that you've been through and some of the struggles and the triumphs that you've dealt with and, bringing a community together to talk about it as well. And knowing that there's more people out there like that. I think it's great. I think at the end of the day, it's nothing but a positive.
Yeah, and I think the thing too with you, which I think resonates with me, is like I'm like a big dude. Like, and you don't think of like a big guy, and I'm not tough in any way. I'm not tough, but I kind of look like I could be. And I think with you too, as like a guy, a former pro hockey player, talking about different things that people wouldn't associate like a quote unquote tough dude talking about. I think that really resonates with people. I think that gives you almost more of, at least for me, from my perspective, like when I hear someone like you talking about different things, that resonates with me as opposed to, maybe seeing it on a PowerPoint or like a presentation about it, like someone who's actually maybe gone through some stuff and now they're singing about it. Like, I really think that's a cool thing. And I think I encourage you to keep doing it and writing about stuff like that because I think it really hits with people.
No, I appreciate it. And no, you made a good point. I mean, I think I think growing up as athletes, especially the higher the level, I think there's when you're in the locker room and you're around your teammates, it's it's tough to be vulnerable. You know what I mean? Like it's guys are, you're an easy target to get ragged on or whatever it is. And I think that's the stigma of that. I feel like it's going away a little bit now, though. I think the more people talk about it, and it's more welcoming, and I think teammates are more welcoming to the fact that some people might be struggling with some stuff, and it's support now. I feel like more than anything than just getting chirped or ragged on.
Yeah. And sometimes like sometimes the now that I've been like vocal about it, like some of my buddies chirp and rag on me for it, but in like a fun way. Like it's like
Yeah,
a good way. Like I enjoy the fact that they feel comfortable ragging on me for it. And I think they like that I'm able to laugh about it. So it's like, oh, okay, he's doing okay. Which I think that's kind of like that sports atmosphere that I like,
right.
but now it's like with the mental health stuff, which has been kind of helpful for me. But
Right. Well,
um,
I also think too with the locker room, like, and I don't mean, when I say chirped and ragged on, like, I'm not saying that teammates think that you'd be like a loser. I just,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Because I think like that's all part of it. I think, that's some of the best parts of being in the locker room. I mean, and if I feel like if you're not getting chirped and you're not getting ragged on, you're probably not liked.
yeah, right, exactly,
So, but yeah, I
exactly.
think for me that was one of my favorite parts of being around the locker room, and some of the biggest parts that I miss.
Yeah. Well, let's get back. Let's get to the lock. Or I want to talk about you as an athlete because you grew up in like an anomaly of a family. Like you, and maybe it was just normal to you, but like you had a cousin who played in the Super Bowl in the NFL. You had a cousin who was an All American at Holy Cross, my buddy Steve. You had a sister who was an Olympic gold medal hockey player, and you're a Division I hockey player. You're an NFL draft pick. How was growing up in like that family? Was there like a competitive aspect to it? Was there a pressure aspect to that? Or like how was that?
I mean, it was great. I mean, I think that all those athletes and like that you explained are my dad's side of the family.
Yeah.
My mom's side's actually pretty athletic as well, but everybody that you just mentioned is pretty much on my dad's side. And, you know, my dad's side of the family, like, like Jamie and Stevie and my sister and my brother was also a pro hockey player as well. And, I just think that, we grew up on just hard work, and staying humble. And I think that, our parents really instilled great values in all of us as kids. And, I don't think that we ever got outside of our character, and we just kind of stayed the course. And, I feel like even to this day, it's the same way. But to have all those athletes, in a family is pretty wild. And I remember going to a lot of Stevie and Jamie's games growing up as a kid, and they were just like standouts, like unbelievable players, but never cocky, never never bragged about anything that they did. They just went to work every day and they got the results. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that's the reason why a lot of us, became successful in one way or another.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of going to mention that because I feel like when you are around other people like that, like, my best friend who played with Steve at Holy Cross, like it was almost like we fed off each other in a way, like that competitive aspect in a positive way, but it was like, hey, I want to be like this guy, or like, hey, maybe for you, like, hey, I want to be like Steve and Jamie, not necessarily with football, but like, I want to be like that top level athlete. Did you get like that out of it, like a little bit of a
Absolutely.
role
Yeah,
model factor?
absolutely. I mean, growing up, I looked up to those guys tremendously. And it's funny because when we were younger, so I was born in Rhode Island. We all grew up in Riverside. Those guys stayed in Riverside and went to EP, or East Providence High School. But my dad got a better job when I was 5, and he moved our family out to Western Massachusetts, which is about an hour and
Yeah.
a half away. So,
Mhm.
at 5 years old, I mean, I was growing up with those guys for 5 years, and then all of a sudden that was pretty much taken away from me. And I kind of
Mhm.
had to start this new journey as a kid and get new friends and all that out in Western Mass. So I didn't get to see them as much as I probably would have liked to. But, when I did get to see them and go to their games, I mean, I absolutely looked up to them. I was so impressed and idolized them in a way of how they carried themselves and their performance on the field. So, and I tried to carry that over, into the hockey rink.
Yeah, and so like you end up going to Maine, you become a standout there. You get drafted by the Philadelphia Flyers, and how many? And then I think you spent like, was it 8 years you said, or 7 years?
7 years in the minors. Yeah.
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 So I mean, you're going through that whole process. How was that? Because I know sometimes like I hear of minor league baseball players, and it's like you get a lot out of it from the locker room and things like that, but it's also like a little tough at times, being in that grind all the time. How was it for you, kind of shooting for that dream of playing in the NHL?
Yeah. I mean, I think the higher you get in the levels, it just gets more competitive and harder as you go. And when I was playing all up through high school, I was pretty much, the guy who was, one of the leading scorers, and physicality was, my main game, and I was that I would say my physicality was probably what got me a scholarship and drafted.
Yeah.
So at Maine, I don't know if I would consider myself a standout player, but I was definitely,
Yeah.
effective in some assets of the game. But like getting back to your point, I just think that it just becomes more and more of a business the more that you move up, and sometimes it's sometimes it's the team that you're drafted to, like sometimes it's luck, but it definitely takes a lot of discipline and motivation and the drive to battle through everything and get to where you want to go.
Yeah. So I mean, you're doing that for that amount of time, and eventually you decide, like, all right, I'm done. I'm gonna retire. How was that? Because I know that's really tough for a lot of athletes. Is like losing that routine, losing the structure, losing the lock. Like, I think probably you and myself, that's what I miss the most. I don't miss like moments during the games. Like, I miss like the mess around time
Yeah.
in the locker room, like the joking around time. And now you're done with that. Like, and it's kind of hard to get that aspect back. Was that tough for you when you were kind of trying to figure out what to do next?
Yeah, I mean, I think the transition for me was a little bit easier because I had another passion to fall back on, which was music. And not to say like, right away I was going to be successful, but it was another dream and another motivation to go after. Um, like you said, when you retire from your sport and it's all you've known for the last 30 years, it's a huge adjustment jumping into the real world.
Yeah.
Uh, when you're around teammates, 8 to 10 months out of the year, you have, like you said, you have the structure. You know exactly what your days look like for most of the year. Um, when that's gone, there's some soul searching and some identity that uh, you have to kind of rebuild.
Yeah.
And for a lot of guys that I know, it's really really hard for them, and some of them still are trying to figure it out. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, a lot of guys get into drugs and alcohol and other things that really deter them from finding out who they are, after the game and what they want. So, but I think it's important. I mean, I think you have to kind of reassess, and you have to, dive deep into what you want to do and who you're going to become after the game. And I think a lot of athletes wait till it's too late. They wait till they're already retired. They wait, when you should be doing that while you're still playing the game, because a lot of these guys and females as well, they have a lot of time in their hands. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, I remember when I was playing, like if I had a practice day, I'd be home at 11 o'clock or noon.
Yeah.
I spent the rest of the day working on music. in
Yeah.
preparing for, that next journey. A lot of guys I remember was, they'd dive into real estate or finance. So like use that time to figure out what you want to do in your next venture.
I'm glad you said that because I was just about to ask you that question. Like, what would be kind of a recommendation that you would get? Because obviously, no matter how good you are, your shelf life is not long in professional sports. It's not. And I was going to ask you, like, what would your recommendation be? And I think you said it, like you got to kind of get another passion, especially because you have some downtime to do it. Um, for what's next. And I think you
Right.
found obviously what was next. It's kind of funny. You found like something else that is another anomaly. Like to be a successful musician is like to be a successful athlete. Like that's tough to do, and you've kind of navigated that whole process. Um, when you went to Nashville, so how quickly after you kind of retired did you get out to Nashville?
So I retired. I retired in May, I believe it was. I think it was May or June because we went pretty deep into the playoffs that year, um, in 2015, and then I was in Nashville in October of that year.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So like I heard, I already had my mind made up of what I wanted to do and like just get around because I knew that I had a lot to learn,
Mhm.
and I think Nashville is the best place in terms of just top tier musicians, top tier songwriters, and top tier performers. And I just
Yeah.
wanted to try to get a little bit of that in my system and have it rub off on me. And
Yeah.
when I did get down there, I knew I was in the right spot because I had a lot to learn. I mean, my songwriting wasn't up to par of what it was there, not even close. And but I didn't take that and I wasn't. It didn't discourage me. It lit a fire under me and helped me just kind of drive forward to succeed in those areas.
Yeah, like how did you think being, because I feel like being an athlete had to have helped you in terms of like, dealing with that. Like maybe that success doesn't come right away, or you have to practice, you have to grind, you have to, tinker with different, you have to learn from other people who are better than you. Like, do you think that has been helpful for you to have had that experience previously?
Without a doubt. I mean, at any level that you play sports, obviously it gets even better. The higher level that you play, but from a young age up until the time that you give it up, what's instilled in you is obviously hard work and work ethic and discipline and working with a team, and
Yeah.
that goes back to that transition from sport into your next endeavor. Like athletes hold these characteristics inside of them that not many people have, and
Yeah.
you know characteristics that organizations and companies would love to have, and just to be able to just you know take that leap into the next career. Those intangibles, those skills are very valuable in a lot of professions. So
Yeah.
the future could be bright for a lot of people that just put their time in to work on what they want to do next.
Yeah. Okay, so when did you meet your wife when you moved down there, or had you met her before and that was one of the reasons you moved there?
No, I met her when I was down there. So
Okay.
I moved down there. I didn't know anybody. I moved down, drove my car down from Mass, and I just moved in with a random kid that I had met through a mutual friend. And the first time I met him was when I walked in the door to sleep there the first night.
Hey, what's
Uh,
up?
yeah, but it was honestly like when you're going into a situation like that, you don't really know what to expect, and it ended up being an incredible situation. I couldn't have asked for a better roommate. A guy that owned the house took me in. It was an incredible experience, and a great transition into a kind of just like a new path for me. So moved in there, and like right away just immerse myself in the scene, try to meet as many people as possible, try to write as many songs as possible, get out, see a lot of music, see what other people are doing, see what kind of songs other people are writing and how they're performing. And then I met my wife probably within a year and a half of being there. I walked into a writer's round where I was singing later on in the night, and she was up on stage singing at the time. And she just has an incredible voice and an incredible presence. She's one of the best performers I've ever seen. And we just kind of hit it off, and we're talking a little bit, and we started writing songs together, and that's kind of how it happened.
Yeah. Well, and I know, I mean, that's got to be cool. Like, it's got to be cool working with your wife like that. I'm sure it's tough it probably is tough at times, but that's got to be a cool experience. And I know you said you had struggled with like confidence after like leaving hockey at or identity, trying to figure out who you were. Was like, this is your chance to pump up your wife. I don't know if this is true or not, but was she helpful in doing that, like getting you out of that, phase, I guess?
Yeah, well, so when I met her, I was about like a year and a half in to me being in Nashville, and then we stayed there together for another like year and a half. And then, we were performing a bit together, we were writing a lot of songs. We were just kind of living in the same frequency, had the same passions, had the same goals. And then she got an opportunity to be a host on a radio station up here in Boston,
Mm-hmm.
which was just it was a country music station in Boston, and it was an opportunity for her that it was really hard to pass up. And we had to have the conversation if I wanted to go with her.
Yeah.
And it was tough for me a little bit because I didn't really have any desire to leave Nashville. I felt like I was making a lot of friends there, and starting to write with some great writers. And it just was starting to really feel like home for me. And but at the end of the day, I ended up packing up and moving back up to Boston with her for this job. And it's where we both grew up. I mean, I grew up in Western Mass. She grew up in Rentham, right outside of Foxborough, where the Patriots play.
Yeah.
But we were coming back to friends and family too. But that was a tough time for me. That was kind of when I moved back here, and left Nashville. I kind of dipped into a state of just I don't know what it was, but it was just it was a really, really hard time for me mentally. And
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, she was there for me. I mean, she did anything she could to help me out and try to get me back on track. But it did. It took a little bit. It was a tough time for sure.
Would you say, like, I don't want to was it like a depression that you were going through, or was it like,
I don't know.
yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah,
I feel like it's one of those things that if it's never happened to you before, you don't really know what it is.
right, yeah,
You don't really know what it is. But I just remember I was just severely unhappy, and it had nothing to do with her. Uh,
yeah,
I just was in this state of negative thoughts, and just spiraling down. It just kept spiraling and spiraling down this bad road, and I couldn't get out of it. And
yeah.
this was going on for months and months and months. And
Was it something like you didn't want to get off like, were you like just sleeping all the time? Like, were you not wanting to do anything? Was it something
no,
like,
the crazy thing is, it wasn't even like that. I mean, I was still functioning.
yeah,
I was still trying to do my things. I was playing gigs. I was still getting out and playing music in front of people, but like it showed up when I was on stage too.
yeah,
I remember I couldn't wait to get off stage because I had so much negativity running through my mind while I was singing these songs, while I was looking at people in the audience. And it was just it was an awful feeling. And I was just, I mean, part of me was just, I don't know. I just didn't know how to define it. You know what I mean? I didn't know how to define it, and I didn't know how to get out of it. But after doing a little bit of research and reading some books and trying to get back into a good headspace, I was able to get out of it and find find the light a little bit again. And thankfully, I haven't really got back to that state.
That's so like what were some things that helped you get out of it, do you think, from like reading the books, and like what were some things, or was it just time, or was
No,
it
I think the biggest things for me were like, I think my problem was I was just dwelling so heavily on these negative thoughts, thinking that they were mine.
yeah.
And I think that the more that I read, um, it was very crystal clear that not all your thoughts are yours. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's stuff that, I don't know what the stat is, but throughout the course of a day, there's like a million thoughts that run through your mind in the course of a day, right?
Yeah.
Um, and they're just coming in, and if you're not recognizing it with your subconscious mind, that this might not be yours, it just continues to trickle and spiral for you, right?
Yeah.
But if you can catch it and say, you know what, this isn't me, this isn't my identity and who I am, and recognize it and just let it go into the ether, I think that made all the difference in the world for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I mean, right when you said that, like that is exactly, I had this guy on the podcast the other day. He was a therapist, and he was like, he said a line that I was like, I like that because it's so true. For me, he was like, something like depression, it lies to you. It lies to
Yeah.
you. And if you don't know that, like I experienced it when I was 18 years old playing college basketball at North, and I was doing well. And all of a sudden, I started having the thought that like I wanted to tear my ACLs and be injured and never play again. And I wasn't able to like, and it spiraled out of control. And like I quit. Like I'm just like, I'm done. Like I didn't know
Right.
what it was. But now, like when I've experienced later on in life, I've been able to like at least kind of know, like, all right, this is not me. But when you
Right.
first experience it, like as you did, possibly, I don't know exactly what it was, but it's hard to like, it's hard to grasp if you can't grasp that concept.
It's absolutely hard to grasp because it's something that you've never experienced before.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So like when it just comes on like that out of nowhere and stays, right?
yeah,
I mean, if it's not just like a day or two or whatever, like and it just goes away, like people probably don't. They didn't think anything about it. But like when it comes and it stays, and you don't know what it is, it's a tough time.
yeah,
And I encourage people that like it's within your power. Like you have the ability to stop it yourself. And it's like you just said, like those thoughts, those negative things that come into your mind, they're not who you are. They're not you. They're
yeah,
just they're just something that's coming through. And if you let it stay there and don't recognize it, it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to stay
yeah,
with you. It's going to get worse. But if you can
yeah,
recognize it and tell yourself that, okay, like this thought that just came in, it's not me. It's not who I am, and I recognize it. It just evaporates.
yeah.
And the more that you build that muscle over time, I mean, you can just pretty much rid yourself of it, I feel like.
Yeah, no, and it's like one of my buddies from Holy Cross. He deals with like OCD, and they say like you have these intrusive thoughts, kind of what you're talking about, like just crazy stuff. And like one of the exercises that like the psychiatrist said to do is like write down the craziest stuff like that you would never actually do, and just write it down. And he said like that was helpful to be like, look at it and be like, wow, that's ridiculous. Like I would never actually do those things. And the psychiatrist even like carried around something in the wallet that said like, I hope my family dies in a car crash. And obviously that's not good, but the point is like, that's just a thought. It's not real. And it's
Right.
hard for sometimes people to grasp that.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast not too long ago, and Luke Combs was on, the
Yeah. Oh yeah.
country artist,
Yeah.
and he had thoughts just like that, and he thought the worst thing was going to happen all the time, and
Yeah.
he said he wouldn't wish that upon his worst enemy, what he was dealing with, and
Yeah.
I think it seems like he got out of that mindset, but everybody deals with different thoughts in different ways, and I don't think there's one right way to solve it. There's a
Yeah.
bunch of different ways, and everybody has their own way. um, but it's out there. I mean, it's out there, and there's a way through it, and I just I it's tough for me because I've heard stories where people just they give up, and the worst thing happens, and there's a way to battle through it. You just have to find it.
Yeah. No, yeah. And you got to find, like, that's a good point too. Like, I think you just got to find, and it's different for different people. Like,
Right,
and you got to find what that is for you, and you can't give up, like you said.
right.
Uh, so I wanted to get to specific. So the song that got me wanting to connect with you, the Devil Back Down, was that like kind of reflecting back on this specific time for you, or was it like a combination of things you've heard from different people? And I know it's not necessarily strictly about like mental health. It seems to be about a lot of different things. Like what was the inspiration, I guess, behind that?
Yeah, no, I think I definitely drew some inspiration from some of those times that I had, and also friends and family and other people, some of their stories that I've heard. Listen, like, it doesn't really matter who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Life is never all roses. You know what I mean? There's going to be some turmoil. There's going to be some struggle. I don't care who you are. Um, and this song was kind of just from that aspect of to just give the person going through those struggles a little bit of breathing room. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And I had that thought in my mind, and I just tried to come up with a creative way to say it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, even like the devil. I mean, the devil, I think, can apply to like anything that you're
Absolutely.
you're struggling with. And I don't know. I think, again, I'm not like a music guru, but like I think that there could be some real legs to that song. Because like I said, it's got me super interested as someone who's not necessarily like, I'm like a sports talk radio guy. And now I've started to listen to like some of your stuff, because I felt like it kind of related to me. It's kind of like what I think about like with, therapists and things like that. Sometimes not everybody's going to work for you. Sometimes you need to find something that you can relate to. And to me, I could relate to this. And I think a lot of people across the world could relate to, this song. I don't know. I'm kind of
Yeah.
really pumping this up, but I just really liked it.
No, I appreciate it, man. It means a lot. And it's very gratifying for me to see that it's resonating with people. It really is.
Yeah.
Because that's my goal. I mean, obviously, I want to write a song that I feel good about, and that is applicable to my life. Um, but if in turn it can relate to somebody else and help them, or, whether it helps them or it just, lets them know that they're not the only person going through it.
Yeah.
It's a big win.
Yeah.
And I released this song probably 4 or 5 weeks ago, and it's probably by far the best song in terms of a start with streams and messages that I've gotten, probably that I've ever had. So it's a real positive thing. It's gratifying, like I said, and I really appreciate all the people reaching out, that it's helped them.
Yeah, well, what's great about it too is like then it got me. Then I started listening to the songs with you and your wife, and it kind of the one song that you told me to listen to, the "Make Me Want to Drink" song. Like
Yeah.
I was like laughing. My favorite line, because my wife says this to me, that I stink, and I think you say something like, I forget what you say, but you say about how she says you stink, and like my wife the other day we were doing a podcast, she came in and was like, "You stink," and like so then when I heard this song, I was like, "Oh my god, that is great!" And I think there's a lot of couples who go through those type of things and like funny moments too that I think that I really like that song. I like the one that my kids were dancing to today. And I don't know. I've become a fan. So if you ever need someone to help push you, I will definitely be there for that.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, like I try to just, I try to write a lot of different scenarios. You know what I mean? Like the "Devil Back Down" song is, very, I guess you could say dark, in a
Yeah.
way, emotional for sure. And then, you have a song like "Something About You Makes Me Drink," which is, it's playful, it's funny, but it's relatable.
Yeah.
It's relatable in the same sense that "Devil Back Down" is, but they're two different sides of the spectrum. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I try to, not throw everything all in on one specific vibe. I'm a big fan of kind of, changing up the songs and see what comes out of experiencing, a different vibe, different chords, different sounds. So,
Yeah.
I'm always working at trying to get better.
Yeah, well, and it kind of reminds me, like I do this kind of mental health podcast with different people who I find are willing to share their story and struggle. And then I do one with my wife, and like we kind of just like kind of rip on each other the whole time. But it's like I almost think that one has become more relatable because people are all going through that, regardless of if you have mental health problems or not. That people go through that. So I think it's kind of cool that you are able to have two different kind of lanes that you can. I mean, you have more lanes than that, but two different types of things that you can kind of sing about and write about, that can relate to people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Um, well, Rob, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I
Oh,
just
no
wanted to
problem.
no, I wanted to give you kind of the opportunity for you to kind of plug where people can find you. Maybe we can get you out to the Midwest, to the Chicago
Oh,
area
yeah,
doing some tour. Yeah.
we need it. We need
Yeah.
it. A couple of my buddies have played out there. Is there a Joe's out there in Chicago?
Goes on Weed Street.
Joe's on Weed, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They have a lot of like country and rock bands that go there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to get out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
But
no.
yeah, so I just started a new band called Rob Bellamy and the Rebel Hearts. We have an album coming out in June. Uh, the first song on that album is actually coming out this coming Friday, called Cold
Okay.
Country. And that is going to be on Spotify, iTunes, everywhere that you can find streaming. And that's kind of just about the rugged northern winters and how it kind of builds character in people. And
Yeah.
so it's got a really cool vibe. Definitely a little on the rock side, but it's got a great guitar riff, and we're excited to get that out. Um, and then so I'm on Instagram, Rob Bellamy Music, Facebook Rob Bellamy, YouTube I think is Rob Bellamy and the Rebel Hearts, And I also do a lot of stuff with my wife as well. Her name is Ayla Brown. She was on American Idol back in 2004. She finished 13th.
Oh,
So
there you go.
she had a great run. She has a beautiful voice, and like I said, she's just a powerhouse performer. And so kind of got a lot of things going on right now in the music, and it all is rooted in the songwriting. The songwriting is kind of something that I do almost every day. Just trying to get better and searching for that song that really hits people. So obviously would love you guys to check out the stuff and send me a message if it resonates with you guys.
That's awesome, bro. Well, again, I really appreciate you taking the time. First, the last question: how do you kind of get rid of the New England accent? How do you do that for the singing?
I don't even know if I notice it. It's I feel like it's the people for the British that come over, the people from Ireland that
Yeah,
that sing songs. They sound American, but I
yeah,
don't know.
right.
Yeah, I guess it's all the country music I listen to. I don't know if it's rubbing off on me or what.
Yeah, no, that's you got to do one about like the Red Sox and you said
Yeah,
or
I
something
know.
where you
Well,
say
I don't really have a. I mean, I grew up in Western Mass, so I don't really have a thick Boston accent.
yeah.
You don't really get it out there. I mean, it's in the middle of Boston. It's insane. But
Oh yeah,
I never
absolutely.
out in Western Mass. Nobody has an accent like that.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah,
All right. Well, I appreciate it. And this is how I end every episode. I said thank you for coming on, sharing your story, because by sharing your story, not only do we help others, but we end up helping ourselves because that's the Maley way. Thanks, Rob. I appreciate it.
absolutely, Jim. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, no, that was good. I think that'll be really good, and
Yeah,
I'll have it out. I'll have it out next Tuesday, so I'll probably be like putting clips out there
cool.
if that's okay, and then
Yeah,
yeah, it'll be out next Tuesday. So I'll let you know. I'll give you the links and stuff when it's out there.
that's great.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, no, I appreciate it. That was a good one.
Yeah, good. I
Yeah.
appreciate the time, man. That's great.
All right. Well, yeah, keep up the good work.
All right, buddy. Thank you. You
All right.
too.
All right. Thanks. See ya.
All right,
Bye.
later.